Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right.
Let's go. Are you smiling with your eyes, Tracy
Smile with your
Champagne?
eyes and be a sparkling, shiny star. That's where our notes from John. Welcome, everybody, to the Connect Show with John and Tracy. Kim and Tracy today, where we join you each week to provide you with the resources to be successful.
Let's all, it says, this is quite the thing that I have. Email us at ideas at theconnectshow.com. What is this, Tracy? Let's all please email us.
That's John's fault. Just blame it on John. He's
You
not here, so
know,
he can't defend himself.
John, you get all of the blame.
Anything that's in yellow, that's his stuff.
All right. Well, I get the John stuff. So if I mess up today, it's not my fault.
Right.
I've got my headset on, ready to go.
So please like and subscribe if you're listening to this on podcast, LinkedIn, YouTube, or the Facebooks. And if you would like to join the conversation on Zoom, Kim is going to put our fancy little bit.ly chat in the links over on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube for you to come join us over here so you can participate in our conversation today.
Absolutely. And this month, we're talking all about business coaching and having business coaches throughout the entire month. Today, our guests are Barb Walla and Charlotte Allen.
And then coming up next week, we have another exciting show with some more coaches, Ariel Kopek and Serena Talbot. So pretty exciting for that. And I think we may all be in the studio next week for that one.
Ooh.
So that'll be
Being in
fun.
studio has been really fun. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of, like just seems so much faster to me when we're in studio.
Mm-hmm.
One thing we want for everyone to do is to be able to connect with one another. So share your information in the chat if you're on Zoom with us. Put your name and your LinkedIn profile is a great way to connect with one another. And if you want to add one ideal client that we can help refer you to, you can do that as well.
And the Connect Show is all a volunteer show. So Kim, I, and John, and a few other volunteers, we help run this show every week. Um, we are just looking to help other small business owners get some exposure for what they do and meet some great people. So if you are interested in helping us out as a volunteer for the Connect Show, you can certainly show us some of your skills and bring in more people and maybe make some new connections yourself. So it's something to consider. Or if maybe you know somebody who might be interested, please send them our way to the ideas at theconnectshow.com.
So excellent. And one thing that we've started to launch is the ability, John Tracy and I, to have other small businesses have their own show. And we are working with Joseph, the wealth flow coach. He's actually in Expansive Labs, also himself. Is it just called Expansive or Expansive Labs? I don't know. But he works in Expansive also. And we're going to be working on filming his show. And also, all day tomorrow, I don't know if this is further in, but I'm going to talk about it all day tomorrow. We're going to be at In Business Madison working with, I think last I saw it was supposed to be like 1,200 people attending. And they can get some camera exposure, seeing if they might have interest in their own show, get some video clips. We'll do some interviews. Bill Sargent's going to be walking around there taking some amazing photos. So yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So I'm really excited for this Connect media.live that we're launching.
Mhm.
Really, really fun.
It's
We're all about small businesses, so I love it.
right. It's a different approach to creating content for your business because everybody's used to you have to have your website and then you got to do your social media and you have to have your blog and maybe you should be sending out a newsletter. But what if you had as much fun as we do getting on a show every week and making that your content? It just is a lot more exciting and a fun way to build content for your brand. At least I think so. I think we're having a lot of fun and we've learned how to do a lot of the cool things. So we want to help you guys do it. So all month we're talking about coaches, and I'm curious, Kim, what are some of the great leaders that you follow?
Hmm. Well, I have one that you introduced me to, but he's an over emailer.
He
Do you
is an
know who
over
that is?
email.
He's an over
Yes,
emailer. Yes.
Mr.
Um,
Grant Cardone.
Mr. Grant Cardone. Man, I think he sends 5 emails a day. Not
He
even
does, and it
sure.
gets real personal too. Like I'm almost starting to feel like he's really talking to me.
I think he stalks. He literally has people out. There's someone, it's like the Google car sitting outside of your front door, except for it's someone in Grant Cardone's crew because they just know what you need when you need it. Um, but I actually really like to follow a lot of local leaders and see what's happening in my community. I like to do things locally. I like to spend locally. I shop locally. So I might as well support locally. And this is a total side random shout out, but I have a group of friends. They had a food truck and he runs a food truck, and his significant other is just making things happen in the city of Milwaukee. And they just opened an event space called like Turning Tables, I think it's called. Really super cool event space. So I like to just watch natural born leaders thrive and grow. It's really cool. How about you?
Yeah.
What about some of your leaders?
Well, lately I've been focusing a lot on mindset leaders. So we've been doing the Think and Grow Rich book club, which
Oh,
inspired a
yes.
lot of it. The beginning of the year was the decision of saying that this year I was going to learn all about whoever the author is of Think and Grow Rich. I forget his name at the moment,
Napoleon Hill.
but Napoleon Hill, yeah. So I was going to learn all about him this year, and then that's when we decided to have the book club. And naturally, I just wanted that to be the first book that we did because I was in the middle of reading it. So, but that has inspired me to listen to other people like Bob Proctor, and there's some other ones out there that are really good about mindset. And I'm just realizing that that is, if you're going to starting with that is a good place to start when you're trying to make changes in your life and follow different directions. So those are some of the leaders that I've been following, and local leaders also, like some of the businesses that I do work for. They're very inspiring, and so I try to learn as much from them too, like you said. So, but I'm curious about the audience. Does anybody in the audience? I'm going to pick on Bill first because he's not on mute and I can see his face.
Uh, I draw from everybody. I really, honestly, everybody has something to offer, and I keep my antenna up, listening for gems wherever I go, and 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 you don't have to be a famous author in order to inspire me. It could be anybody. So it's a matter of keeping your eyes open and your ears open, and just listening to what happens around you. And you'd be amazed at all the people that will inspire you that are not famous inspirers.
I like it.
Who
I feel very
else?
similar.
Well, I
We
will
have
ditto
Karen.
what Bill said.
Oh, I can't
Okay,
reach her.
Karen,
I
you
Where'd she
go.
go? Where'd she go?
yeah, I'm the same
Keeps moving.
way. I hear tidbits
Where is she?
everywhere I
There
go.
she is.
I don't know where she
And
is.
Sorry,
Oh,
you
there she
kept
is.
moving around in the gallery and I couldn't get you to spotlight you. So sorry about that.
oh,
Where did she go? Where'd she go?
I'm here. I'm like Bill. I follow a lot of people. I hear tidbits every place I go, every whether it's on Zoom or in person or conference calls, whatever. And I've been doing this for 36 years. So my antenna are up all the time. So there's some who I really like, but I've been doing them for 36 years. Dr. Stephen Covey, he's very good. Louise Hay, she was the first one. Napoleon Hill is excellent. I get a lot of nuggets from Nikan, the company I'm affiliated with. We have a workshop online every Tuesday night. So I never know where they're coming from. I always have my pen and paper ready.
Excellent.
Great. How about
We're
you,
all
Al?
on similar pages. I love
Mhm.
this. All right, Al's coming up. There's Al. Good morning, Al.
Good morning. I got my first insurance license, let's see, before any of you were probably born. So it's been a good journey, and I've been exposed to so many different good ones over the years. Some are not with us anymore, like Jim Rohn, for example. He's down to earth, Iowa farmer boy from back when. And Napoleon Hill, of course, the old standby. My first training I went to was the Earl Nightingale program. That was excellent to go through that schooling. And Xerox had a great program for different nuggets you can pick up no matter if like Bill says, if your antennas are up, you pick up a nugget here and there and make a part of your own life, put it in your own words, and let it be you going forward. Nothing new under the sun. No matter when I look back 30 some years, 40 years back, and I look as a clean house, if you will. And it's just great to see the nuggets, just a little different phrase here and there, different word, but still the same root. So it's great. And the best sales book out there is the Bible, number one. You really can get a solid foundation and a lot of blessings from them. I went to a visit yesterday for an appointment. Well, I was there for an appointment, but not that. So for about an hour, we just spent together. It was wonderful. And this morning, he's in the hospital. I didn't know he was going until yesterday. So you live in the moment and give of yourself. It'll come back. Sometimes, yeah, you feel so all down yourself, but hang on for the ride because it's awesome. So there's nuggets around the corner every day. Just look for them and share them willingly and be grateful.
Absolutely.
That's
I
all.
love that. Look for the nuggets.
I think he just dropped a few himself.
He did drop a few nuggets. He absolutely did. Thank you, Al.
All right. Well, I won't even send you a bill. You'd be blessed.
Oh, I love it. Van, you're muted, but do you want to come on up with us? There we go.
Unmuted. Hey,
Now you're muted.
I'm gonna just follow what's his face, Bill around tomorrow. Sorry, Bill, you're more than a face. And I'm just gonna watch for his antenna to go off at the expo tomorrow. And anytime I see something, I'm gonna see that antenna go off. I'm gonna stop and take notes. Much like Bill and Karen, there's so much out there. And at any point in time, something registers differently with each of us, I think. And so a lot of gems on LinkedIn. I mean, you can wade in and not come out. But I do get a daily email from Mike McKay from Action Coach, and it's typically about accountability. It's about challenging yourself to do the do the hard things, do what's right for the business. And but yeah, it's out there. Quick note, marketing professor 40 some years ago, Les Carson, I think he's passed now, shared with us, and this was his tone: ladies and gentlemen, always have plan B in the top drawer. And never forget that. And that's been so true during the pandemic and coming out of pandemic, that to be able to look at an alternative, look at an option. So my 2 cents.
I love that. Excited to meet you in person tomorrow, Van.
Yeah.
You'll be meeting a lot of people tomorrow.
Probably.
You have a big space back left in the center, and you're going to see a lot of people.
I'm excited for it.
So
Excited.
do some electrolytes today and plenty of water.
All right. Good. Good advice. I like it. I did put a link in the chat for the In Business Expo tomorrow if anyone's interested in going. I don't get anything for it. It's just a plug for me to say, hey,
it's just to come see you.
Yeah, come see us live and in person.
Debbie, curious, do you have anything you want to add to who your leaders are or the people that you follow? If you're there. Well, she's not there at the moment.
She's not there.
We'll save it for later. And we're going to ask our two guests as soon as they come on. But before that, we are going to do a quick little networking report. And I get to do the networking report today. It's my first time ever networking report. So
this is coming from the networking mama, you guys. I call her the networking mama for a reason. Let's go.
So I was inspired today to do my networking report on all the great chambers that are out there. So did you even know that there was a U.S. chamber? There's a chamber for all the chambers. And there's a link, and I'm going to put these in the chat too. Hopefully they show up right. The uschamber.com Chambers, Wisconsin, Milwaukee has about 10 different chambers listed there. So it's a whole listing of all the different chambers. And unfortunately, Al, I did not see our Greater Greenfield chamber on that list. So I think we have to find out who those people are and get the Greenfield chamber on there.
It's in your ballpark. Thank you.
Oh,
you
thanks.
or Kim, whoever.
Okay, Kim, I just got us some more work. We'll go make that happen. And then there's the Milwaukee, I think it's the Milwaukee Metro Area Chamber, which is the MMAC. They do a lot of different events. So there's a lot of different chambers out there, including the U.S. Chamber, which has all of the chambers in the U.S. But I know there's some more chambers out there. So I wanted to know what other chambers you guys go to. It says there's a West Dallas chamber, but when I went to it, there's actually no link for that going anywhere. So I don't think that's actually in existence right now.
Yes, it is.
Is it? Because they need their
it's
link
combined.
page then.
It's combined. West Dallas and Wauwatosa are together.
Okay.
Correct.
Oh.
Change has been taking place the last few years.
Mm-hmm.
I do the South Shore Chamber of Commerce, which is in Milwaukee area, Milwaukee County, St. Francis, Cudahy, and South Milwaukee. And then they also, other businesses that kind of like Greater Greenfield does, other businesses that service the area can also join.
Right. And then there's Brookfield Chamber, Muskego Chamber. Those are all really good chambers. Does anybody in our audience have any good chambers that you're in or that you would recommend for people to look into? You can put that info in the chat or raise your hand if you want to tell us, or just tell us out loud. Well, anyways, you guys can think on it. But I thought having chambers as a topic for our networking report today, because I think sometimes chambers get a little overlooked because there's a lot of different places to network, and just don't forget about your local chambers and try to support local when you can.
I am
local activity going on. Local activity going on in Greenfield again. Mm-hmm. So if you're in the area, check it out, greatergreenfield.org.
Bill,
in the chat. Right. In the chat, Van said, WMC reported about 350 chambers around the state, maybe 100 that had staff. So like
350 chambers in Wisconsin. Wow.
That's a combination of chambers and other business associations. Mm-hmm. And that might have been 10 years ago. And there could actually be more now some smaller communities have lost chambers, but larger communities have more niche kind of associations now as it pertains to business.
And I've noticed a lot of them are combining, like the South Shore one. I think it used to be each smaller community had their own, and they're like, why don't we combine forces to become a stronger chamber? Because, what's my St. Francis is 2 miles. Like we don't have a ton of businesses. So it's really nice. And I like that a lot of these chambers are doing that. The Oak Creek Chamber, which I can't remember the name of that one, is a fairly large chamber, and I think they've combined also with multiple cities. So.
No, I think it's South Suburban.
South Suburban. So yeah, that's a big.
And then
one.
don't
Yeah, we
forget
used
about.
to have.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, don't forget about.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, don't forget about like the veterans and the LGBTQ and all of those types of chambers too that aren't specific to your local vicinity, but are specific to a topic. Okay, go
Al. We used to have ABLE organization, and that was stands for Active Business Lead Exchange, where we got together 4 or 5 different chambers. While with Tosa was part of West Dallas, was Muskego, South Suburban, and also, of course, Greater Greenfield. So it really does work when you get more than one chapter together for luncheons, for networking, for lunch and learn. So it's really great. And we had a lot of success that way, but COVID kind of bit the dust on that one, and I've been trying to get it resurrected, but got too much on my plate, right, ladies? So, but it's all good, and we call ourselves the Greater Greenfield. We're doing our bylaws for the reason that we are the hub in the area, and our borders are all next to each other, and so whether someone comes from Franklin, from New Berlin, different areas, join our chamber, we're open to that, and very reasonable dues structure on that also, to be a member and volunteer and committee work. So we're getting it running, and we're running it. So it's a great location. We're glad to be in the area. And we're all volunteers, by the way. That's a big thing. So people are helping. The ladies are stepping up. Boy, they're staying on my back for sure. So I'll have to put myself on mute for a second. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Al. Well, we're moving on to our first guest today, which I think we might have had a mix up on which guest we thought was first, but Charlotte is our first guest today. So do you want to start with our introduction, Kim?
Absolutely. Rebel Success for Leaders teaches embracing your unique voice, being heard, learning how to embrace others' uniqueness, and collaboratively, one of my favorite words, moving forward to something greater than you can accomplish alone. Charlotte works with STEM organizations and leaders in STEM fields to break the paradigm that less than 70 of organizational change and innovation fails. Sorry, my eyes just crossed on that. She shows leaders how they can be the 30% that succeeds.
Charlotte has over 20 years of leadership experience, including 16 at Kraft Foods, working with iconic brands. She holds a PhD from the Ohio State University and is the best-selling author of Rebel Success for Leaders, Lead, Grow, and Sell Fearlessly. She's a consultant and nationally renowned keynote speaker for groups and organizations that are looking to break barriers, drive people-centered, meaningful. That does not make sense, that last sentence. I've forgotten something somewhere. Anyways, welcome, Charlotte, to the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
We're going to start.
Meaningful change. That was the last word that you missed.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
I love it. We're going to start with the question that we had for our audience earlier, which what are some of the great leaders that you follow?
So I agree with many of the names that were mentioned. Your guest certainly covered the gamut of all of the classics. the folks who have been out there in the industry for a really long time. I will add a female to the list because I didn't hear any females being mentioned. So I will add Mel Robbins, who is the most requested international female speaker. She has certainly gotten her claim to fame for the 5-Second Rule, which is a book that she published. So I'll add her. She's fun and very real. I tend to keep a list of the books that I want to read because I do read a lot. And then in order to support locally and also to be very sustainable, I check them out from the library, right? So I'm always excited when they're in the library. My current read is called Switch: How to Change When Change is Hard. And it's by two brothers, Chip and Dan Heath. So that's my current read. For those who are interested in the psychology of change, they're certainly on target with that book right now.
Oh, that's some good tips on books. I was familiar with Mel, but the book that you just mentioned, I don't think I've ever heard of, and I thought you were going to say Chip and Dale at first.
Right.
Brothers.
I was
Yeah.
thinking Chip and Joanna. So I
Oh.
mean,
Chip and Joanna Gaines. Yeah.
yeah, that's
yeah.
where I was going. So we were, yeah,
It's funny.
I love it. What does Rebel success mean to you?
So for me, Rebel is that unique part of us, right? That's the thing that we bring to our work, to our personal life. And it's the thing that's so hard to be consistent with in a business setting, right? Because in a business setting, there's a bit of norming. What I will say is that today we have gone from change as a thing that has been driven by competitiveness to change is a norm and an expected part of our flexibility. So the uniqueness that we bring is going to contribute to the success of change. I often say that we talk a lot about DEI, we talk a lot about uniqueness. However, when it really comes right down to it, when the rubber hits the road and your teams are doing the do, there's a lot to be said for skills they do not have on how to have a whole bunch of individuals who are very passionate about their stuff work together collectively and collaboratively for a greater vision. So I think there's still a gap in moving that forward within business today.
That really sounds like the mastermind chapter we just covered in Think and Grow Rich. We're discussing all of those things and working on your business instead of in your business all the time, and it's great.
Mm-hmm. You keep on with that collaboration, and I say this all the time: collaboration, not competition, is a hashtag I use all the time. It's I really want to help set that mindset for as many people as I possibly can, that rather than being against someone, even if you're in the same industry, find a way that you could, because I mean, everybody has a niche that they're probably better at, and someone else could help fill the void on something you're not good at. So I love that.
So I often tell folks to deliberately seek out and follow people who have a different perspective than yours. So we tend to find, authors that we like or speakers that we like. We tend not to follow those people who maybe aren't those folks that think like us, but then we aren't stretching those collaboration muscles, to your point. So often I say, let's make sure that we're following people who are very different from us, so we are exposed to different ways of, collaborating.
And that also gives you a little bit of a chance to review with yourself, like, what are your morals and your values and your visions when you're comparing it to somebody that you don't necessarily agree with, or you like the way they do things, but all of a sudden you might find something that, oh, we have a little bit more in common than you thought.
Yeah, I've worked in the food industry, so there's a lot of people who connect first on food, right? It's a common cultural collective element that we can all connect on. And I think you're right in that it's about finding those common threads. But I would also say, let's not think we have to change our morals in order to, collaborate with someone very different than us. I think it's just about how do we take those unique points and create something bigger, right, within that.
I agree totally with that. So, how do you specifically help organizations to be more successful?
So I tend to like to work with teams. So I go into the organization, they tend to have an innovation initiative, new product launch, new service launch, or they're doing a big transformational change initiative. So a lot of people today are very focused on digital, right? Digital transformations, and a lot of their organizations are very resistant. And that statistic is that 70% of change still fails. So what I tend to do is I work and follow them throughout their change project, right, that they're already working on, and give suggestions along the way of how to, okay, let's stop and think. Let's think about how to make that people centered. I find it a challenge that so many organizations hire brilliance, right? They go spend all this time to find the right people, and then they essentially squash all that fabulousness, right, that they've hired, because they're not leveraging it. So it's really about, how do I leverage the power that I have within my organization? It's about steering a bit with our head and steering with our heart or our intuition, right? Because people are not only guided by their spreadsheets and their models and their trackers, they're really guided by what they are passionately after. So that's kind of how I help change the conversation.
Yeah, because people are emotionally driven, even when they're going to go buy something, or all their decisions are, it's more based on emotion than logic normally.
Absolutely.
For sure. Is there one thing that you can suggest to our audience to get started or to continue on their very own journey?
Just one thing, huh? So
you can list 10 if you want. I mean,
list a lot, but we don't have that much time. So I would say the one thing that I often ask folks to start with is really a hard look at what's really going on, right? So people will say to me when I start working with them, oh, but I've done surveys. Oh, but I tell people things. I'm communicating. I don't understand why, it's not sinking in, right? And we all hear that statistic of 10x your communication in order to get the message through. And I often stop and I ask, okay, communication is a balance of the exchange of information. That's by definition, right? Webster's. So if you're spending all of your time going out, what are you actually doing to balance that? Are you hearing them? Because people, we know, will act as soon as they feel as though they've been heard. Okay. So if you're not hearing them, they're not going to hear you. So I think we all start with a bit of, let's reflect really on what's going on. Let's sit down and think about those balanced equations. I talk a lot about balance, a lot about collaboration, a lot about building bridges. So we sit and we talk about, okay, what's really going on? Let me be real with myself about the situation. And awareness is the first step, right? So that's the place to start.
So when you're starting this with them, do you have like a series of questions that you're asking them so you can help pick through all this stuff? Because maybe they aren't able to articulate what is going on because they're just so used to doing the same thing and they don't know what they don't know.
Right. So STEM organizations tend to be, so there's some common themes that I see, but what I also see is that STEM organizations with a deep set of expertise. So think of science, technology, engineering, and math, right? That's what STEM is. It's also IT. It's also food. It's also manufacturing. It's also healthcare. They know their stuff, right? So I don't come in trying to tell them their stuff, right? Mm-hmm. But I do need to have an awareness of what's going on with them, because what works best is in their language. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I have in my head a few things. We do often an interactive sort of kickoff session, if you will. And I get some situations. I do some role playing. I get some volunteers, so that they can actually sort of show me and act as they would in these situations themselves. And then we take that information and we use it to design their, alternate paths to move forward. So when they see it in their own world, they kind of go, oh, I get it. I understand. So I tend not to go in with surveys. I tend not to go in with like, let's follow the script, right? I really try and hit that heart moment. They'll get to the logic because that's who they are, right? What they're not as proficient at is that heart connection. So I tend to go in with that and try and make sure that they understand that element and that piece of it first.
Oh,
And it's interesting. I heard you say awareness for them, but I also heard you say awareness for yourself. So you really built it on both ends, because you have to get to know their portion in order for you to help them. So
I think we've all sat in a meeting where somebody comes in and tries to tell us their way and their method and their stuff, and we're all like, okay, that was great. I had a nice hour. I had a nice donut, but I don't believe anything you just said to me, because you don't know me, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it is very much of, let me figure you out. It is that hearing first, right? I need to hear them so that they can hear me. Most of what I'm talking about is universal across every human organization and their challenges. But unless I phrase it in their world, they're not going to hear me.
I definitely agree with that. Building the relationships, the trust, and then it turns into value in the end. It really, really does. And the more we all get to know our clients, the better services that we're providing for them. So absolutely.
Right. So Charlotte, do you have anything that you're offering? Do you have anything that you want to tell our guests here today? Anything that you have coming up, any events or any kind of offering you'd like to share with them today?
Yes, I do. I am going to be, I'm collaborating with a colleague. Okay, so my primary background is in the sort of research and development technology space. I'm collaborating with a colleague whose primary background is in the finance space. And she and I are going to be launching a course in June. We've got a couple of webinars. So it's going to be called Leap, Transform with Purpose. So I will, I can tag the spot in the chat if you want me to, but there's not much there now. But again, we will be launching that very soon. So if that interests your listeners, that would be a place to sort of plug in.
Oh, that's awesome. We love it if you'd put that in the chat.
Absolutely. And you have a dedicated web page on our website, which I also put in the chat. So any of that information will all flow through, and Tracy spends a nice time putting those pages together for everyone. So
yeah, and as we go forward with the show, if you have anything that you'd like to put in there, think of it as like a free little advertising place. You can just send us links and we'll throw them in there for you and stuff like that. So, because it's just going to stay there.
Wonderful.
So, well, thank you, Charlotte, for coming on today. We really appreciate it. I learned some interesting things about how you're doing your business and what's important to you. And so I've gotten to know you a little bit better. That's great.
Thank you guys for having me. It was wonderful to be here.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Absolutely.
And now we are off to our marketing moment, and Kim gets to do the marketing moment because that's her thing.
Doing the marketing. So today we're going to talk a little bit about, let me get to my right spot because I'm click linking everywhere here. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about social media scheduling. So social media is a daunting task for a lot of people. And that's why there's people out there in the world like myself and Tracy that have businesses to help smaller or larger businesses with their social media. Some don't know where to go. They don't know where to start, how often to do it. I'm not going to go super deep into it, but the first thing that you should absolutely do is figure out your target audience. What does your target audience want to see? Then create the content. Sit down, time block yourself out for a few hours if you can, and create a month's worth of posts if you can. And I'm not going to go into what all those posts should be because Tracy and I have a class for that if you really, really, really want to know. But you could create a content calendar for yourself. You can find content calendars online, but you have to do what's going to work for your audience. Reuse content is very important. Again, I'm not going to tell you which content to reuse. Gosh, is this naughty of me, Tracy? I think I'm being a little
it's like you're
sassy.
being a little tease.
I'm being a little teased, but really the tips are there. Reuse content. You don't have to recreate the wheel every single post that you make. Entertain, educate, and don't oversell. Not every single post that you should have out there should be a sales post because you're just not going to get the followers. People aren't going to like your stuff unless you have like the most magnificent, let's say, jewelry, and that's what your content is dropping stuff and selling it, and that's how you sell it. Well, that's how some people make their money. But in the grand scheme of things, most businesses should be educating. Maybe talking about different sales you have coming up is absolutely appropriate, but those shouldn't be the only posts. If you have a restaurant, post pictures of your food. It doesn't have to be my shrimp is $7.99 today. It can be just that photo of your beautiful shrimp and people will come. And one thing that I like to do is a social media scheduling tool, which makes it, Facebook does have one built in. You can absolutely utilize that. I think there's a free one out there, Buffer. I use one called SynShare. It's only $10 a month. I could post to all my platforms. It's great. But use those tools to schedule it out. And then that content is out there and you're not forgetting to post. And then you still have time to put organic posts out there. If you're at an event and you want to put a live post out there and say, hey, look where I am today, you're still a real live person. You still can absolutely do that. That was my marketing moment for today. I talked really super fast because I had a lot to say.
So was loaded with a lot of stuff in there too. A lot of
was
good
it good?
Stuff.
Was it good stuff? Mm-hmm. Tracy understood it, or did I talk over everyone's head? Because
I mean, I got it. But just like Charlotte was saying, they might not be hearing you.
They might not be hearing me.
They might not.
But that's why this is on YouTube and LinkedIn and everywhere else, so that you can go back and replay that as many times as you want and write it down real fast.
And of course, you can always contact us for more questions and information.
Yeah, absolutely. So
awesome. Thanks.
Yes.
Our next guest today is Barb, and I'm going to start reading her little intro here.
Please.
With a lifelong passion for helping people and seeing them develop and lead, Barb has the experience and skill to guide people towards accomplishing their goals and dreams. She earned a degree in business management and leadership and has spent most of her career in human resources.
Her expertise has helped numerous clients make important steps in both their businesses and their personal lives. So welcome, Barb. Thanks for joining us today. Mm-hmm. We are going to go all the way back to the question of the day, which what are some great leaders that you follow?
So I am going to copy Charlotte because I like Mel Robbins, and she is nothing like me. She swears a lot. Shout out to Charlotte for saying, follow people that aren't like you, because she totally pushes me. I also really enjoy Brene Brown. I love her TED Talks. She has them on Netflix and they're very inspirational. And I like following right now James Clear from the Atomic Habits on Instagram, because he always just has like a little thing, his little post that I resonate with. But I don't always like who I like changes, and I feel like it's just how it speaks to you that day, so yeah, but always listening for the nuggets.
Yes, that's awesome.
I love it.
So Barb, what is your coaching specialty?
That's a very good question. It's been a long time trying
everything. It's going to get us started.
The niche. Actually, I'm part of Coaches Culmination, and I'm going to give Ariel and Jon credit actually, because they decided to call me a career journey coach. Because I not only help people that are at the beginning, like they just graduated college, you know, they need help with their resume, LinkedIn, have no idea how to network, never had an interview. I help with that, but I also help people if they're transitioning to a different career or they're going to start their own business, and work with them. I also help people who have started their own business. It doesn't look the way that they hoped that it would look. So we kind of go back to the beginning, like, why did you start this? What was the dream? How can we get you to what that is? Always moving forward. So that about covers it, I think.
Always moving forward, and a lot of us that start off, we start in one area and we completely move into, I started off as a virtual assistant and I'm like completely just not doing that anymore.
Yeah.
For the most part. So
yeah, you usually like a niche to me is like that rut in the road. So you're driving and you kind of hit that rut and you're there for a little bit and you're like, is this my niche? And then you keep going and you just kind of keep going back in that rut. And it's like, yeah, that's where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah. Finding things that you're good at and that you enjoy and completely leading you into a total another direction. That's what happened for me.
Exactly.
So if I was going to work with you, how would we get started?
First thing is probably go on my website, which I did post on there, and then set up something, because I always offer a 30-minute free, coaching, kind of a mini coaching session, just to see if we would work well together. People just think, oh, it's a coach. I always enjoy when someone says, I'm talking to 2 other coaches. It's like, great, and that you need to find somebody that's going to keep you accountable, because that's really what coaches do. It's the accountability for moving forward. So we do that, and then we move forward from there. And I try to listen very hard to what it is that they need at the time. So
nice. So are most of your clients in high school age, getting into college age, or are they of all ages, just trying to figure out when they get stuck kind of thing? Because you mentioned transitioning. So I'm trying to gauge who are you most comfortable working with?
Yeah. Ironically, when I finished one of my coaching certifications, they wanted us to make our perfect client, and I don't really have one. Anyone who is stuck, feels like they're stuck in their career, so that I can help them get unstuck, really, or stuck in their business, whichever point it is. So I'm working with a 26-year-old right now, someone in their 40s who thought that the job that they had was where they were going to be forever. I have a physical therapist that I work with. She owns a business. She needed to hire somebody. I did all the interviewing, hiring. I mean, it's just kind of all over. I do have a couple small businesses that I work with and do their interviewing and employee engagement for them, to make sure that, like Charlotte said, that they're actually being listened to, that the employees are being heard. So, yeah.
So kind of being that person, kind of helping them out and hearing what they're looking for, and then being able to help them accomplish those goals, actually, to achieve and get what it is that they're looking for.
Correct. And when I'm working with a company with the employee engagement, a lot of times people aren't in the right position. They love the company, but they're not in the right. So it helps the company, helps the employee. And then on the other side, having people who want a career change, and then as they're doing it, they realize, you know what, I think now's the time to start a business, because you find out you were like sitting in that career because it was paying the bills. And I always tell people, this is a perfect opportunity to make a change. So stay where you are. Let's see if you can, build this out. And they're entrepreneurial, and it ends up being a fantastic thing to move forward.
Interesting. So what does a coaching session look like then?
I'm a big goal setter, and that started with myself. In October of 2017, I decided I was going to leave my corporate job, but I did not leave it until September of 2019, because I wanted to get a certification. I wanted to make sure I had clients, so that, I wasn't eating noodles every night. And just, so that was my long-term goal, right? And then you have to set the short-term goals along the way. And fortunately, I had a coach who kept me accountable. And I just really take them through, what is your goal? What could get in the way of this goal happening, so that when that happens, because there's always roadblocks, that they're like, oh, you know what? We already thought of that. I know what to do now. And it's very specific. And usually I meet with people every other week, and they get homework, for lack of a better word. And they know that by that next session, that's what we're going to talk about. So, and it's funny because I'll get like an email 2 days before, and they'll be like, I'm just working on it now. And I think, well, at least you're working on it, right? Because you know how it is when you guys set it, when we all set goals and we don't have anybody to hold us accountable. It's like, yeah, I'll do it next week.
I need a deadline. I need a
Yeah.
deadline. I do.
What happens when they're not achieving their goals with you? Do you start to question whether or not they're really interested in achieving the goal, or like, what's the process that you go through when they're like, they're just not doing it?
So I always tell people too, this is the same for like when you go for an interview. People think it's just the interview. And back when I was executive recruiting HR manager, it was all the steps that you took prior to the interview too. How quickly did you respond to my emails? Did you return my phone calls? It's the same with me when I'm coaching. I'm giving you things to do. Are you doing them? So I always start with some tools / assessments. I don't really, but that kind of go in line with what they're hoping for. Is it your career journey, my dream life? Do they want to be an entrepreneur? Whatever that is, and see where those hit. I ask for half of the package fee up front, because then when we're in the middle of it, if they're really not proceeding the way that I think they should, or they feel that they are, we can stop, because they've only paid me halfway. I've only had that happen once, where I've actually said, I don't think this is working, for you. Is it me? Is it the timing? What is it? We can stop right now. You have 3 more sessions, but you've paid for what we've done. So can we stop? But yeah, you definitely have people who stall.
Yeah.
So.
I could see myself as being a staller. That's why I asked.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't let you. But when you start to see progress, you want to keep going forward.
That's true. That is true.
That's the main thing.
And if it's a good fit, I think if it's a good fit, then you're going to accomplish all sorts of great things. So
yeah. And I always tell people, because and you ladies were talking about this a little bit, you can be a little sassy and stuff. I incorporate laughter. I just can't. It's like, if it gets too heavy, no one's going to, continue or want to work on something if it just feels so heavy. So just lighten it up a little bit.
Yeah, you don't want to be the coach that someone says, oh, I got my coaching call.
Right? Yeah. Oh, Barb, she's going to talk to me again. I just
like, you want them to be excited to talk to you and like, yes, I can't wait till we talk again.
Yeah.
I'm going to do my homework right away.
Yeah. I don't know if they'll do their homework right away, but
depends on how hard you make it. We got to come up with a better name than homework.
Yeah. Well, it's their goals. It's all about them. And that's what I always remind them. This is all about you, and whatever you do just helps you. So.
Yeah. Right. That's great information today, Barb. I really appreciate you coming on the show today. Do you have any offers or events or anything coming up that you would like to share with our guests?
The biggest thing is Coaches Culmination is having a coaches event, because we are hoping to welcome some more coaches into our culmination. And that's June 2nd. And from 4 to 6 at Whirly Ball in the Pivot Room.
At Whirly Ball?
Sounds
like a fun time, you guys.
Yeah, ask Ariel. Is she coming on next week?
She's coming on next week. Yeah.
Yes, this is all her. But anyway, and it's kind of fun because it's going to be like we're all going to be there, kind of informal kind of thing. And then the only other thing is I had a dad reach out to me maybe 2 weeks ago for his son, that his son needed coaching. And I will always welcome that, please do that. So just as a reminder to everyone, if you want to gift that to somebody, or and I put everybody's package together. People are like, what kind of package can I have? It's like, well, what do you need? Do you need a lot of resume work? Do you need the LinkedIn, the networking? What is it that you need? I don't have a standard package that everyone gets. It just doesn't. I've learned over the last 3 years of having this business that doesn't work. So
Needs to be tailor-made.
Yes, exactly.
Love it. Well, thank you so much, Barb, for joining us today. I did put a link in the chat for you as well that we have on our website. A nice, pretty page that Tracy has designed for you. So
Nice.
definitely everybody connect with Barb and Charlotte, and I'll put both of them again in the chat just in the next few minutes in case anybody missed Charlotte's above also. So thank you.
Thank you, ladies.
Thanks, Barb. And just a quick reminder that we do have the mastermind event every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Central. And this month we're talking all about sales funnels. And we're having a pretty good time with that. We are meeting people where they're at. So if you're coming in and you have questions on sales funnels, we can definitely steer you in a different direction that you're already going in. Between John, Kim, and I, we all have experience with sales funnels. So I encourage you, if you have any questions on that, to come in on Friday mornings at 10 a.m. Central on Zoom. And I think Kim's going to put that link in the chat too. But if you can't, if she doesn't, it is on the website under networking events. So
I did not do that because I didn't do the networking report today. Oh my
that's right.
gosh. We also have, I do have it though.
Okay.
We also have a networking calendar on our website. So if you have an event, put it on our calendar for free.
Right. Or if you have a launch of something new, like Charlotte could put a launch of her course, saying course launch, and put that on our calendar. It's just another way to get more exposure for your events that you have going on. And it's all easy. You just go on the website, you fill it out, we approve it, and it goes live right away. So it's pretty easy. And next week, join us for our show with Ariel Kopek and Serena Talbot for another event of coaching. And I think we've got one more after next week on coaching, and then we're moving into IT services. So now we're going to get all techie next month. We're going to learn how to back up our stuff and fix things and all that kind of stuff.
Thank you everyone so much for joining us today. Thank you, Charlotte, Barb, everyone that came in on Zoom, watched us on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTubes, any of that good stuff, or anyone that watches the replays. Share it with your friends.
And thanks to Expansive when we are there at the studio. Hopefully that will happen again next week. We miss our studio when we're not there, but sometimes it's just doesn't always a workout. So, but thanks everybody for coming. And I think that is a wrap of our show.
Invite your friends to the next one. Help expand our community so we can continue to help small businesses grow. See you at In Business Madison tomorrow. Bye.
Okay, streaming.